On a crisp Alaskan morning, the world watched as two of the most polarizing figures in modern geopolitics, Donald J. Trump and Vladimir V. Putin, met for what quickly became one of the most consequential encounters of the 21st century. The Alaska summit, heavily choreographed but deeply unpredictable, was billed in advance as an opportunity to reset U.S.-Russia relations after years of acrimony. Few, however, could have anticipated the dramatic shift in American policy that would emerge from the meeting, or the ripple effects it would set in motion across Europe, Ukraine, and the broader international order. The central shock was Trump's abandonment of a long-held US and European demand that any peace process in Ukraine must begin with a complete and verifiable ceasefire. Within hours of his red carpet reception for Putin, Trump discarded that precondition, instead signaling a willingness to move straight into negotiations over a comprehensive peace deal. For Moscow, this was not just a diplomatic win. It was a validation of Putin's long strategy of outlasting Western unity. For Kiev, it was a gut punch that threatened to leave the country fighting alone. Russian officials exulted in the optics. Commentators in Moscow described Trump's unusually warm greeting for Putin, handshakes, smiles, even a ceremonial welcome usually reserved for close allies, as a breakthrough moment. A new European and international security architecture is on the agenda and everyone must accept it, declared Andrei Klishas, a powerful senator close to the Kremlin. His words reflected the new confidence that Russia had succeeded in prying Washington away from its closest allies and forcing the world to acknowledge Moscow's influence on its own terms. For Ukraine, however, the implications were dire. President Volodymyr Zelensky, already under immense pressure from Russia's relentless assaults, suddenly faced the prospect of an American partner eager for a quick deal, even if it meant ceding Ukrainian territory. According to several officials familiar with the conversations, Trump privately relayed to Zelensky that Putin demanded control over all of Donbas, along with other occupied regions, in exchange for a vague promise to end the war and refrain from attacking other nations. For a Ukrainian leader sworn to defend his country's sovereignty and constitution, the idea of surrendering territory was unthinkable. Yet Trump, motivated by a desire for rapid results, seemed ready to push for precisely that outcome. The fallout was immediate. European capitals, from Berlin to Warsaw, scrambled to interpret the shift. Some leaders clung to Trump's pledge of credible and robust security guarantees for Ukraine, even outside NATO. Others worried that the summit marked the start of a US disengagement from Europe, leaving them vulnerable to Russian pressure. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Putin struck a victorious tone, calling the meeting very useful and suggesting that Washington had at last accepted the need for a broader reordering of Europe's security landscape. The Alaska summit, in short, was more than a diplomatic event. It was a turning point that revealed the deep fractures in Western unity, the boldness of Russia's ambitions, and the unpredictability of Trump's foreign policy instincts. It raised profound questions. Would the US continue to uphold the principles of territorial sovereignty that underpinned the post-World War II order? Or was Washington shifting toward a more transactional, interest-driven approach that prioritized immediate deals over long-term commitments? As the dust settled, one thing became clear. The world had entered a new, uncertain phase. Ukraine's fate, Europe's security, and the credibility of the United States were now bound up in the decisions made that day in Alaska, a summit that may one day be remembered as the moment the global balance of power began to tilt. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.